I grew up believing the woods were honest. They creak when they shift. They groan when they're cold. They whisper when the wind moves through them. But they don't lie. At least, that's what I used to think. My name is Daniel Harper. In 2018, I volunteered along a remote section of the Appalachian Trail in western North Carolina. I wasn't a ranger, just maintenance crew, trail clearing, sign repair, basic backcountry support. I'd spent enough nights out there to know the sounds. Coyotes in the distance, owls trading calls, branches popping in the cold like knuckles cracking, and sometimes hunters, old-timers mostly. There was one rule they all repeated: never whistle in the woods at night. And if you hear one, don't whistle back. I laughed the first time I heard that, until the night something answered me. Let's step into the abyss. It started like any other late October shift. Cold air settled early that year. You could feel it press against the back of your neck. Once the sun dipped below the ridgeline, I was stationed near a section locals called Black Hollow. No cabins, no cell reception, just 6 miles of dense hardwood forest and a narrow maintenance shed we used for tools. That shed always smelled faintly metallic, like old nails and damp copper. I used to blame the rust. That evening, I finished replacing a warped footbridge plank just before dark. The temperature dropped fast after that. By 7:30 p.m., the woods felt tight. You know what I mean? Like the trees were standing closer together than they had that morning. I locked up the shed, checked the radio. Static. Just the usual crackling hiss from weak reception. I started the half-mile walk to my temporary campsite, a small clearing near a dry creek bed. That's when I heard it. A whistle. Short. 2 notes. Clear, not a bird. Too controlled, not wind, too intentional. I stopped walking. The forest didn't. Somewhere to my left, about 40 yards in, another whistle. Same pattern. 2 notes. I remember smiling. Probably an old hunter messing with me. I whistled back. Just once. Same 2 notes. And for a moment, nothing. No insects, no shifting leaves. Even the distant coyote calls were gone. The silence felt thick. Then, it whistled again. But this time, it was behind me. Close enough that I felt cold air move across my neck. I turned slowly. There was nothing there. Just trees. But I could smell it again. That metallic scent. Stronger now. Like wet pennies, I told myself I was imagining things. Sound carries strangely in valleys. Echo distortion, terrain bounce. That's what I told myself. I started walking faster. Boots pressing into damp leaves. And that's when I noticed something that still bothers me. My footsteps had an echo, not the normal kind. It sounded like a second set, half a second behind mine. Soft, deliberate, matching my pace, I stopped. The echo stopped. I took 1 slow step. A half beat later, another step behind me. Floorboards creak in old houses. Out there, it was leaves, but it sounded the same. Measured, testing. I didn't whistle again. I didn't speak. I just walked. And whatever it was, walked with me, all the way to the edge of the clearing. The moment my camp lantern came into view, it stopped. No whistle, no second footsteps, just wind returning to the branches, and the distant sound of something moving deeper into Black Hollow. That night, I didn't sleep much. Around 2:13 a.m., I woke to radio static. The handheld unit beside me wasn't powered on, but I heard it. Soft crackling. Then, very faintly, 2 notes. A whistle. From inside the tent, right behind my head, I didn't turn around. I didn't breathe. I just lay there, listening to something inhale. Slow, close, like it was learning the rhythm of my lungs. I didn't move for what felt like an hour. Maybe it was 5 minutes, maybe it was less. When you're lying in complete darkness, your brain stretches time like rubber. The inside of the tent was black. No moonlight, no glow from the lantern, just the sound of my own blood in my ears. And that breathing, slow, measured, not touching me, just there, right behind my head. I kept my eyes open. I don't know why. Maybe I thought if I closed them, it would lean closer. The metallic smell filled the tent, stronger than before. Not rust, not blood. Something colder, like wet iron left outside in winter. Then the whistle came again. 2 notes, but softer, right at ear level, not loud, not aggressive, almost curious. I felt cold air brush the back of my neck, the same spot I'd felt it on the trail. I finally forced myself to move. Slowly, I rolled onto my back. The tent ceiling stared down at me, empty, still. The breathing stopped, completely. The silence that followed was worse than the sound because it felt disappointed, like something had been studying me, and I'd failed a test. I reached for the radio beside my sleeping bag. It was powered off. The battery pack removed. I always did that to preserve charge. But as my fingers touched the casing, static burst from it, loud enough to make me flinch. A sharp crackle. Then nothing. Dead again. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I grabbed the lantern, switched it on. Warm yellow light flooded the tent. Empty. No tears in the fabric, no footprints, nothing disturbed. But the zipper on the tent door was halfway open. I know I closed it. I always close it. Out there, you don't leave openings. Not for animals, not for anything. I stared at that gap for a long time. The forest outside was still, too still. No insects, no night birds. Just a pressure in the air, like the woods were holding their breath. I zipped the tent fully shut, locked the lantern on, and I didn't turn it off again that night. Around 3:40 a.m., I heard footsteps circling the clearing. Slow, heavy, not matching my pace this time, dragging slightly. Crunch, pause, crunch, pause. like it was limping, each step deliberate. Testing the edge of the lantern's glow, I could see shadows shifting faintly through the tent walls, something tall, taller than me, too tall to be a deer, too steady to be a bear. And then it whistled again, but not the same pattern. This time, 3 notes, wrong, uneven, like someone trying to remember how the first whistle went. Close enough that I could see a darker shape against the fabric. And then the tent wall pressed inward, just slightly, like something leaned its weight against it. The nylon stretched tight. I could hear breathing again, slower than mine, deeper. The smell of metal filled my lungs. My eyes locked on the bulge in the fabric. I could make out a shape, long, narrow. Not a snout, not a human face. Something in between. And then it whispered. Not words, just air moving over teeth, testing sound, like it was deciding what to say. I did the only thing I could think of. I spoke. My voice barely worked. Go. One word, quiet, firm. The bulge in the tent didn't move. The breathing didn't stop, but the whispering changed. It sounded closer to a word now, a broken copy. G. It cut off abruptly, and then something hit the back of the tent hard enough to knock me sideways. The lantern tipped. Shadows exploded across the fabric. The shape vanished. Silence returned. Instant. Total. No footsteps, no whistle, nothing. I waited. 5 minutes. 10. Eventually, the insects came back. Faint at first, then normal. Like a switch had been flipped, I didn't sleep again. At sunrise, I stepped outside. The clearing looked untouched. No claw marks, no broken branches, no tracks in the soil, except mine, and a second set, leading up to the tent, stopping inches from where my head had been. The prints weren't boot-shaped, they weren't paw-shaped either. They looked almost human, but too long. The toes pressed deep, as if whatever stood there had leaned forward, listening. The tracks circled the clearing once, then they stopped. No trail leading away, no disturbance in the leaves beyond that point, just gone. Like it had stepped backward into the trees without turning around. And that's when I remembered what one of the old hunters had told me. If it whistles back, it's trying to find your voice. I packed up before noon. I didn't report it. What would I say? Something mimicked me in the woods? But I made one mistake, one that still wakes me up sometimes. When I reached the maintenance shed, the door was open. I was certain I'd locked it. Inside. My tool bag sat on the workbench. And from somewhere deep in the trees beyond Black Hollow, I heard it. Clear, perfect. My whistle. 2 notes. Exactly like I'd made it. Only this time, it wasn't answering. It was calling. I should have left that morning. Packed the truck. Driven down the mountain. Never looked back. Instead, I stayed. I told myself I needed proof. Something physical. Something I could hand to a ranger without sounding insane. The shed door being open bothered me more than the tracks. I know how that sounds. But doors are simple. You lock them, or you don't. And I locked it. The metallic smell inside the shed was stronger than usual. Not just rust, sharper, like something had been scraping against the walls. I checked the lock first. No damage, no sign of forced entry. Inside, everything looked normal. Shovels, trail markers, old coils of wire. But my radio, the spare unit we kept charging on a shelf, was on. The battery indicator blinking low. And through the static, I heard something faint. Breathing, not mechanical interference, not feedback. Breathing, slow, close to the mic. I stepped toward it. The static shifted as I moved, like it was reacting. Then, 2 notes, a whistle, clear, right through the speaker, not distorted, not distant, as if whoever made it was standing inches from the microphone. My stomach dropped, because I knew something. The shed radio only transmitted locally. Short range, whoever whistled was nearby, very nearby. The static spiked suddenly, sharp enough to sting my ears, and beneath it, a second whistle layered over the first, slightly off rhythm. Practicing again, learning. My own breath started to match the pattern. Inhale, pause, exhale. 2 notes. Without thinking, I whistled back, soft, automatic. It felt like muscle memory, like my body answered before my brain caught up. The shed went silent, completely silent. No wind outside, no insects, no hum of the radio. Even the floorboards beneath my boots stopped creaking. That's when I realized something else. The breathing in the radio had synced with mine. Exactly. I exhaled. It exhaled. I inhaled. It inhaled. Perfect timing, like a mirror. Slowly, I held my breath. The radio kept breathing, alone. I stepped back. The floorboard behind me creaked, except I hadn't stepped on it yet. The sound came first, half a second before my weight shifted, like something anticipated my movement. My heart started racing, and the metallic smell hit me again, overpowering now. Copper, wet iron, something old. I turned toward the open shed door. The forest outside looked wrong. The trees seemed taller, leaning inward. The light dimmer than it should have been for mid-morning. And at the edge of the tree line, I saw it. Not clearly, not fully, just a vertical shape, too thin, too long, standing between 2 pines. It didn't move, didn't sway, didn't blink, but I could feel its attention, focused, measuring. The air around me felt colder, like someone had opened a freezer behind my spine. The whistle came again, not from the radio, from the tree line. 3 notes, then 2, then a broken attempt at my own pattern. It was testing combinations now, experimenting, trying to refine something. I took 1 step forward. The figure shifted, not walking, just adjusting. Its head tilted slightly, and I heard something else. Footsteps. Behind me. Inside the shed. Slow. Measured. Matching my earlier pace from the trail, I didn't turn around, because I understood something terrible in that moment. There wasn't just one. The one in the trees was watching. The one behind me was closer. I could feel cold air against the back of my neck again. And then a whisper right beside my ear, not copying this time, speaking my name. Daniel. Perfect, clear, human. My blood ran cold. Only one person had called me Daniel in the woods like that, an old hunter named Frank. He'd passed away 3 winters earlier. Heart attack in his cabin near the ridge. I'd helped carry his body out. I knew his voice, and what stood behind me was wearing it. Daniel. Softer now, almost patient. The floorboard creaked, right behind my heel. I bolted. Out at the shed door, into the clearing. I didn't look back. Branches scraped my arms as I ran. The metallic smell followed. Footsteps behind me. 2 sets. One heavy, one light. One ahead in the trees, keeping pace. One behind. Close enough that I felt air shift with each stride. The whistles started overlapping, different pitches, different rhythms, testing, competing, like predators adjusting to each other. I burst into the open stretch of trail where sunlight hit full. The moment I crossed into direct light, everything stopped. No footsteps, no whistles, no breathing, just wind, real wind, moving through leaves. I bent over, hands on my knees, trying to steady myself. The radio clip to my belt crackled. Then a voice came through. Clear, official. Trail volunteer Daniel Harper, please respond. It was Ranger Collins. I grabbed it. Collins, He cut me off. Daniel, we've been trying to reach you since last night. My throat tightened. I lost signal. There was a long pause. Static. Then, no, Daniel. His voice sounded wrong. Too flat. Too careful. We got your call at 2:13 a.m. My stomach dropped. I didn't call? Another pause. Then he said something I'll never forget. Daniel, you were whistling. The radio went dead. And from somewhere deep in Black Hollow, perfectly synchronized, 2 notes echoed back, followed by 3. Then my own voice, calling my name. I left the trail 2 days later. Not immediately, that's the part I regret the most. I stayed. Because part of me still believed there was an explanation. Radio interference, sleep deprivation, acoustic mirroring in valleys. I needed something rational. On my last night out there, I didn't camp in the clearing. I chose a different spot, higher elevation, closer to the ranger access road. More open sky, less tree density. I kept a fire going longer than usual, not for warmth, for sound. The crackle helped. It filled the gaps. Because once you've heard the woods go completely silent, you start to fear the quiet more than the noise. Around midnight, the fire burned low. Embers glowed like small, watching eyes. The metallic smell drifted in again. Faint. Testing the air. I didn't whistle. I didn't speak. I just listened. At 12:47 m, a whistle came from far downhill. 2 notes, soft, almost respectful, like it was checking if I was still there. I stared into the dark tree line. Didn't answer. 5 minutes passed. Another whistle. Closer. Same pattern. Perfectly clean. It had learned it by now. It didn't need to practice anymore. My radio, clipped to my belt, began to hiss with static. Low, persistent. Then, through the crackle, I heard myself breathing. Not live. Recorded. It was the exact rhythm from inside the tent that first night. Slow. Controlled. Measured. I pulled the battery. The static continued. The breathing continued. And then my voice, barely above a whisper. Daniel. Not Frank's voice this time. Mine. But wrong. Slightly stretched. Like it had been dragged across something sharp. The fire snapped loudly. Sparks lifted into the air. For a split second, in that brief flash of light, I saw movement between the trees. Multiple vertical shapes. Not one, not two, several. Standing still, too tall. Heads tilted at uneven angles. Watching, waiting for instruction. The whistle came again. But now, it was layered. One from downhill, one from my left, one from directly behind me. And then, from the darkness ahead, a new sound. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, approaching the firelight. Crunch, pause, crunch, pause, just like the limp around my tent. I stood up slowly, didn't run, didn't speak. The footsteps stopped at the edge of the light, and I saw it clearly for the first time. Not fully, but enough. It wasn't skin. It wasn't fur. Its surface looked stretched, like something wearing the suggestion of a body. Too thin at the shoulders, arms hanging slightly too long, the head narrow, jaw slightly open, as if testing how far it could stretch. Its chest rose and fell once, then it whistled. Perfect, exactly my tone, exactly my pitch. And behind it, in the dark, the others copied it, but not quite right. Some too high, some too slow, like a classroom, repeating after a teacher. I understood then. It wasn't just mimicking to hunt, it was learning to become, and it had chosen me. The one in front stepped closer. The fire flickered. Its outline shimmered in the heat distortion. I noticed something that made my stomach drop. Its shadow didn't match its shape. The shadow was broader, human, proportioned like mine, as if it was trying to rehearse wearing it. The metallic smell was overwhelming now, like breathing in coins. It tilted its head, And in my voice, softly, it said, "Come here." Behind me, several voices repeated it, layered, unstable. "Come here." The radio on my belt crackled again, and I heard Ranger Collins shouting, "Daniel, do not respond. Do you hear me? Do not." The signal cut. The creature's head snapped toward the sound. Sharp. Predatory. Then slowly, it looked back at me. Its jaw moved again, stretching slightly wider, like it was adjusting something internal. I did the only thing I could think of. I stepped backward into full firelight. I forced myself to speak loudly. "Frank is dead." The forest went still. The figures in the dark stopped moving. The one in front blinked, slowly, processing. "You're not him." The metallic smell intensified for one long second. Then, the whistle pattern shattered, chaotic, broken, off rhythm, like static exploding through wind. The creature's jaw twitched violently, its limbs stiffened. Behind it, the others shifted erratically, as if the script had been ripped away. I grabbed a burning branch from the fire and stepped forward, not swinging, just holding it between us. The creature recoiled, not from the flame, but from the light. Its outline flickered. The shadow behind it lost shape, became tall again, wrong again. Then, all at once, every whistle stopped. The metallic smell vanished. The forest sound returned in a wave. Insects, wind, distant owl. And the clearing was empty. No figures, no movement, nothing. I left at dawn, didn't say goodbye, didn't file a report. But here's the part that still keeps me awake. 3 months after I quit, I got a voicemail. Unknown number, no caller ID, just wind in the background. And then, 2 notes, perfect, followed by my voice, calm, measured. "Daniel, come here." I deleted it, changed my number, moved to Tennessee, and I haven't whistled since, not in the woods, not anywhere, because sometimes, when the house is quiet late at night, and the air feels cold against the back of my neck, I hear floorboards creak, half a second after I step, and somewhere far away, in the dark, something practices my voice, waiting for the right moment to answer someone else.